So we're on Ecclesbourne Road in LS9 right now, where we're coming up to 5 years of owning the property that we're about to show you on this property review. And I'm bloody glad I come to see it. I see 2 for sale on the road, I see 1 for rent up there, which gives me absolute evidence on what it's worth from a sale perspective and the rental perspective. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down not only the 3 things that I love about the property, the 3 things I wish I could change, and most importantly, the numbers. And would it shock you to say that we could get close to making £60,000 profit in just 1 month? Let's jump in. So I actually bought this property around 5 years ago now for £103,125, and it was originally a 4-bed terrace, so I didn't really do too much on it. It already had a tenant in situ. They were paying about £725 a month there, and again, in the LS9 area, it's not the best area in the world, it's not a terrible area, and so many people were saying, well, why would you invest in that area? And it's because of the economics. A lot of the time, people get emotional around areas. Maybe they live locally, maybe they know someone here, and so they go, well, I don't think it's a good investment area. Well, I don't really care about opinion. What I care about is the numbers, the economics, the capital growth, the rental, and the tenant type that it attracts. And LS9 for me, dependent on each road, of course, makes a great investment. So we're going to talk through the numbers detailed in a moment, but let me show you where we're at today. So when we bought this back 5 years ago, it wasn't in the best condition, and a big mistake that I see a lot of new investors going is, we're going to do this full spec refurb. Well, this property had a tenant in situ, and it's very easy to blame the landlord for the quality of the home, but actually a lot of the time it's how the home is used. For example, we're in the kitchen right now. If I had a load of mold in here and stuff like that, you'd blame the landlord, right? Or is it the tenant's not opening the bloody windows and letting some condensation out? And a lot of people would go, right, we're going to do a full spec refurb. No, we did a tart up on the property. We obviously sorted out the mold issue, gave some advice to the tenant. Fast forward 5 years, the tenant's now moved on, and so it's worth spending the money. And the reason we spent quite a lot, about 17,000 on this property, is getting to a stage of making sure that we're increasing the value, getting a great refinance value, which I'll talk through the numbers shortly, and attracting a great quality tenant that's going to make our house their home, because we want to achieve a great rent and make somebody's build their family in this for the long term. When you're doing a boring vanilla buy-to-let, it's important to keep it as simple as possible. So people really knock like the whitewashed walls, the grey carpets, but the whole point is that you want somebody to come in and go, it's clean, it's fresh, but also I can put my own stamp on this. And a lot of people, I think, make the mistake of doing these beautiful feature walls and everything like that. And that's fine if it's a really high-end side of things. But for us, the boring vanilla buy-to-lets, we just want it to make a safe house for somebody to live in that they can make it their own. There's 2 areas that I try to focus on, and as we go around, you go, it just looks like the same room again and again. Because it is, it's the carpets, it's the whitewash, but the kitchen is where I like to spend a bit of money and actually focus on making it decent quality. And then the bathroom, I like to keep it really simple. So obviously we're not finished, there's no flooring in, we need to finish the snagging in this property. But ultimately, if there's 2 areas to focus on, it's your bathroom and of course your kitchen. And otherwise, you just want to be able to help people visualize living in the property. And the way that you do that is making it clean and simple. Here's 3 things that I love about this property. Number 1 is the numbers from the beginning. And this is something that people really get wrong. They focus on trying to get a discount, whereas I focus on what's the land worth and what's it actually achieving. And I'll give you a nice little tip here. You want a minimum of 4% capital growth, ideally 5% capital growth on an annual basis, and a 7% yield. Both of those were achieved when I purchased the property, and so I knew that the economics were on my side. Second thing I love is the fact it's a 4-bedroom house, and typically we look for 2 to 4 bed houses. I really like 3 and 4 beds, and the reason I like it isn't that 2 beds are bad, it just gives more scalability. So I think about my end customer, that if they're a couple looking to start a family, they could move in here. If it's a couple and they've got a couple of kids, they could move in here. If they've got one kid, and as the family grows and then decreases, as you like, if the kids grow up, I think it's a house that's really valuable as an asset for somebody living here through all stages of life, which means I'm going to get a long-term tenant that wants to make this house their home. Third thing I love about this property is the random small places, which I know is me being a massive geek, but maybe it's a Harry Potter thing, I really don't know, but something I've genuinely noticed is when there's little these hubbles and stuff like that where people can hang stuff, when you're showing tenants around, they're like, oh, they start visualizing what they can put in it. It's like when you furnish a property, it's not the fact that they would have it like that, it's the fact that it brings ideas. I know it's just such a little geeky one, but why not? I love little spaces like this because I start looking at the shelving in this corner and thinking, oh, I could do that there, I could stack that there, and I know that other people do that. Here are 3 things that I don't like about this property, starting with visuals. There's something about it where I can't help but get romantic about property investment, but I have to remember it's not me living here, it's a tenant, and it's a house that they're going to make their own. But there is something about boring vanilla buy-to-lets where it does lack that passion and energy a little bit, and so I do miss that, but it's the only thing I miss from making these investments. One thing I don't like about this property is small rooms, and the fact it's up here on a hill. Now, it doesn't matter because it will be like the smaller room or the kids' room and stuff like that. But again, for me, it just takes away. I really would like it as 4 solid bedrooms, but this is small. You can probably get, well, you can get a bed in. But again, the downside of having this is it kind of takes out this space. You know, could we nick into that and do that? Maybe. We're not going to, but small rooms or difficult rooms increase complexity, and it's another reason, or it's a reason somebody might go, yeah, not for me. I really do need the 4 rooms, and so it is a limiting factor. But let's get into the money. I think one thing I don't like, and it's more of a personal thing, is the fact that outside, if we're just, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, maybe not, it's not that loud, but we've got a main road back over there, and we've got a main road over the on the corner. Now actually, for investment purposes, that's really good because you've got buses, logistics, all of that. But from a personal point of view, I personally don't like the idea of living close to them. So I know it's just emotions, I know it's get over it, I know it's numbers based, but that impacts me, and I think that's a negative. All right, let's break down the numbers here, the exciting stuff. So this is what I really love about property, and it really shows the power of buying a boring vanilla buy-to-let in the right place. So let's go back 5 years. So in 2020, I bought this property for just over 103,000, and we got 75% loan to value there. So we only put 25% in. So if we just look at that, we do 103,250 times 0.75. That's how much the debt was, and that figure is really important. We then did a bit of a tart up, but those numbers really come in. Then we fast forward to today, and what's the value? The value of this is we are currently refinancing this property at 170,000. So let's go through this. Can I make £60,000 in just 1 month? And the answer is no, I didn't bloody do it. So we've got 170k times 0.75. This is the new debt on the mortgage. Now the new debt goes and pays off the old debt. So the way that's going to look as a calculation is 170,000 times 0.75, do that in brackets, minus the 103,250 times 0.75. And what that's going to add up to is around £50,000. It's just over 50,000. But that's not just 50,000 that we've made over the 5 years. We've also got the cash flow. Our 5-year average has netted us £300 per calendar month as an average there, to keep it simple. You do 300 times the 12, which is a whole 12 months, that's 3,600. And then you times that 3,600 times 5, which is £18,000 to my calculation. So that's £68,000 that I've made in the last month. Have I really though? No, we need to deduct the costs, and the long and short of it is we're going to come in after spending a little bit extra on this property of around 17,000, so we end up getting back in total around 51,000. So I think that's a pretty bloody good investment. Now here's the thing. How much did I invest? What's the long-term ROI? And I always say to people, if in doubt, zoom out, focus on the long term, not the short term. And this is what it looks like 5 years on. Total investment in this property is 25% of the £103,250, which is, let's just call it 26k, so we round up there. We only had 3% stamp duty at that time, so that was 103,000 times the 3%, which is 3,900. So now we're at circa 30k, and we end up spending about another 5k on tarting up the property, legals, etc. So £35,000 investment. 5 years later, we have netted £51,000. So we're going to call it, and keep it very simple, let's call it 50,000 from a £35,000 investment. So if we do the 51,000 divided by the 35k on average, we are coming out to 1.457. If we round up, that's 1.456, which is 145 or 146% ROI. And if we just round that up just for ease of maths to 150% over 5 years, that is a 30% year on year. And by the way, I just want to really push this. I bought this at market value. I then did a tart up, and 5 years later, I've now benefited from 5 years of rent, 5 years of rental growth, and of course, capital growth in the area. Remember, property investing is about the long term. You need to make sure you're getting the best credentials. And I'm just going to say it now. If you want to buy property like this, you've got 50, 60 grand plus to invest, but you don't have the time, the knowledge, or of course, these skills or network to invest in properties like this, put portfolio in the comments and you can have a free one-to-one strategy session with me or one of the team, and we can get your portfolio built. So that's a wrap. The question is, would I flip it, rent it, live in it, or avoid it? And ultimately, it really depends on what you want from your investment strategy. But for me, I'm all about the long-term, boring vanilla buy-to-let, and this has proven to be a great one. So I'm investing in it to rent it out all day long. If you like these types of videos, make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell, where I'm going to show you more real deals every single month that you can invest in or get educated in along with me. And by the way, as I said, if you're ready to invest and you want properties just like this that give you the ROI over the 5-10 year period that we're talking about, put portfolio in the comments. I'll send you a link and you can book in a one-to-one. I'll tell you what, let's film that. So you're filming now? Yeah. So this is mad. So down the road, so we've done some research. The one that's just let up there, they're actually renting out the 4 rooms. So we'll rent this for about 900 quid, I reckon. But they're renting the 4 rooms out for about 1,200 quid. And then lads have just pulled up next door, and I'm sort of, they've got the same sort of thing. And I went, well, how much are you paying for it? And they went 500 quid a week. Airbnb. Maybe we need to rethink the stance, eh?